break for AI, with leaders needing to show real productivity and outcomes. Piers Linney joins us, co-founder Implement AI. Piers, I think that's true, where the market's very cautious around the notion of an AI bubble and wanting to see proof of life around some of these pilots. But as you talk about where the industry has been at, rolling out all of these tests and use cases to bridging to implementing at large scale, so there are productivity benefits and cost savings, what are you saying, and how difficult is it going to be to get that bridge?
So it's good to be back. So I was here about a year ago and we were talking about AI and futures and the technology. That conversation has moved on now. So now what we're doing in Implement AI, we're talking to organizations about how do you deploy this technology now. And a lot struggle with it because it is very different, and they may need to change workflows, processes, even entire operational models to be able to adopt this technology. And some aren't quite there yet. I was talking to a room of FTSE 350 chairs. And what's quite interesting is their response to my talk about the technology was the linear correlation to their understanding of it. And if a board is not having a conversation, a serious one, about this technology in 2026, it's not doing its job.
I've heard from some industry players looking to implement it, and the problems are with the models themselves, no ability to reason. Do you think that we're at the point where some of the early trials are going to see disruption from competitors that can simply do it better? Is it about the models themselves improving from here so they actually work, the existing technology that has been used in trials? I mean, what are the nuances here?
So I get quite frustrated about the ongoing conversation about infrastructure and pipes. So if you look at the internet, .com 1.0, Cisco was the biggest company in the world. It was all about infrastructure, ISPs, Now we're talking about fabs, GPUs and AI models. You as an organization have got to start thinking about not where the tech is today, you've got to look at where the puck's going and start thinking about how do we, I always say, think big, think AI first, but start small. And don't just think about implementing today's technology, start thinking about an AI first mindset. So let's say in 3 years, one economic cycle, one planning cycle, one administration for a government, they solve AGI. Any organization that's already on that journey will be able to deploy it a lot more easily than anybody else. And once you get ahead, it's going to be very hard to catch up.
Piers, despite you looking years younger than me, we're actually very similar vintage, separated by 1 year. So you remember as well.
I've got tan.
you just look better.
Well, one of you just looks after
maybe you don't get
better.
up at 3 every day. I don't know, whatever it is.
Well,
maybe you don't
one does more exercise maybe than the other.
Oh. Don't do that. Don't do that. You did go there.
Yeah, it was too fun.
Look, Piers, I'm not worried about the adoption. I hear what you're saying, and I know that it's taking time for a lot of companies. A lot of very illustrious companies are saying they've got an AI strategy, but it's so disjointed and they don't really know what they're doing on it. But the reason I mentioned our vintage is because I remember the early noughties when we had this amazing 3G technology. We just had the auctions. You'll remember this, both of you. We had the 3G auctions, and we were watching it every day, and there was amazing technology available, but the software and the applications just weren't there. So everyone was blaming each other. The software people were blaming the handset providers. The handset providers were blaming the likes of Vodafone, and there was this triumvirate of blame going around. They're all blaming the government, of course, as well. So it will happen when people need it to happen, or during a process. I actually think it'll be a lot longer process than people think. I know that has ramifications for valuations in stock markets because there'll be impatience there as well. But really, do we have to call 2026 make or break?
So we've got some research by a tech show in London. So 73% of organizations are investing in AI, but a third are finding or experiencing pushback from their employees, their stakeholders. Really.
Funny that, because they're worried about their jobs.
They are, but what we see is that what AI is doing, think of the pyramid of value, okay? So it's been filled with cognitive labor and then physical labor, robots, different conversation. But you've got to move yourself and your organization and your human resource to the top of that pyramid to add value using a technology, not fighting it. And that's the difference. Is in 2026, I'm not saying you're going to go from 0 to 100 miles an hour, but you've got to start thinking about it. Boards have nom-coms, rem-coms. You should have an AI com because it fundamentally changes everything you do. If you want to deploy sales agents, digital workers, you've got to have tech, C-suite, sales, probably marketing, maybe policy, compliance. They've all got to be involved. It's not just HR and sales anymore.
You have, by the way, we should mention this on air, you have just been awarded, or you will be awarded, an MBE in the King's New Year's Honours for services to small business entrepreneurs, investors, banking, diversity and social mobility. So congratulations on that, by the way. That is brilliant, and I'm sure Mum's very excited about this.
Yes.
But in terms of the government role in pushing forward adoption. I see very, very much split here. Yes, the government is actually doing a really good job in kind of encouraging a lot of AI, and especially in small businesses and lean foundations. But at the same time, small businesses are saying to me, to Karen, and I'm sure to you as well, they are unbelievably frustrated with government's rules and regs that are making their job harder as well, whether it be employment regulations, whether it be business rates, whatever it may be. So just give us the government stance as you see it, sir.
So one thing I find with government and policymakers is there's a lot of focus on safety. It's a bit kind of abstract. Then you've got the other extreme that people are focused on, how do I use this AI to do marketing, okay? It's the middle that's important. And I think what government policy should be doing actually is investing in training and understanding of the technology and how you use it and the difference it can make, productivity, customer experience. And that's the key to it. And then what will that then drive is demand for adoption, and companies like mine and lots of other ones that can help people implement it. That's what they should be doing, not focusing on, if you're an SME, where do you go to get support to implement AI? What do you do? Who's going to talk to you about it? Government's not going to do it. And another point I would make is, don't wait for policymakers. Don't wait for the regulators. You know, we all know that I'm a lawyer by training, and law is typically
I thought you were a banker by training.
That's why my citation's so long.
You were at Zoo Wed, weren't you?
I was at Barclays, Zoo Wed, Credit Suisse. Yeah. I've been around. I was a lawyer as well. So the point is, the regulator is always going to be 5 to, in some cases, 50 years behind the market. And you can't wait for them to catch up, because when it starts moving exponentially, they're never going to catch up. You've got to take responsibility yourself and your organisation. Can
I just circle back to some of the points you've been making here? Because it sounds a little bit like Europe, the UK is trying to retrofit AI into what they have in terms of digital technology at this stage. Very different to say what the Chinese are doing. So it's been pointed out the Chinese completely are changing their mindset. They're becoming AI companies, AI SMEs, changing the way they think with the technology. How do we get to that point? If you're an early adopter and you're working with some of the technology already and you think you're right at the forefront, but really you're just retrofitting, how do you change that narrative?
I think policymakers need to grasp the reality that this is not just another tech project. It's not something you install it and then you come back 3 years later and look at it again. This is going to be an ongoing implementation of an ever-evolving technology that will fundamentally change businesses, the economy, society generally. And that I don't see that. It seems to be something that it can be done next year or the year after. Whereas in China, they know, for example, in robotics, they've got a human resource issue in terms of physical labour. So they're working on it to sort that out. I don't see that here yet. And that's something we need to make sure we do start doing. Otherwise, we could become irrelevant globally very quickly. And again, I'll keep saying it, in an exponential world, if you understand mathematics, catching up is very hard.
You are a former dragon, so you, as in Dragon's Den, which I'm sure all our viewers are aware of, the show. So you have your finger on the pulse of not only the AI story, but also the SME story, as you just alluded to as well. At a time when the UK government looks to have warmer and closer relations with the EU, some sectors are welcoming it. Other sectors are actually saying, no, we're fine as we are now. We've got used to things as they are. For instance, the financial sector as well. How do you see the importance of closer relations with the EU, good, bad, or indifferent?
I mean, I've got companies that sell into the EU and it's caused us problems. I've got a mountain bike business. To me, it's the biggest block we should be trading with, and I'm not going to mention the B word, but I was no fan of it. And anything we can do to access that market, and especially, as you know, lower the red tape, is a good thing. Period.
Yeah, it's really nice to see you again. Well, let's not leave it a year till next time.
Thank you for having me.
No, well, thank you for coming in as well. And we still don't know the question of who trains more, but we'll find out off camera. Piers Linney, who is co-founder of Implement AI. I'm talking about